Hello everyone! Today I would like to review OSPF Route Summarization. But before we continue, I would like to ask you to subscribe to my channel with notification bell on and show your support by hitting like button. So let's talk about it. Route scalability is a large factor for the OSPF when a network has many routers. Splitting up an OSPF routing domain into multiple areas reduces the size of LSDB in each area. In such a multi-area OSPF network, the number of routers and networks remains the same. That is why many specific Type 1 and Type 2 LSAs are exchanged for simpler Type 3 LSAs and flown from one area into another. There's one more method which helps to shrink LSDB, which helps to reduce routing table size and helps to decrease the number of LSAs flooding into areas. This method involves summarizing network prefixes or route summarization. Route summarization also helps SPF calculation run faster. For example, if you have a router that has 10,000 network entries, it will take longer for this router to run the SPF algorithm than a router which has 500 network entries. OSPF Type 1 and Type 2 LSAs are generated inside each area and translated into Type 3 LSAs in other areas. When router summarization is configured, the ABRs or ASBRs consolidate multiple routes into a single advertisement. For example, for ABRs, they consolidate LSAs into Type 3 LSA, and ASBRs, they consolidate LSAs into Type 5 LSAs or Type 7 LSAs for not so stubby areas. In that way, they reduce the number of advertised prefixes for many specific to the only one summary prefix. If a network which falls into a summary range fails, the topology change is not propagated into the backbone area and then to other areas, and does not cause routers to rerun SPF algorithm, because with route summarization the smaller prefixes are hidden. That increases the stability of the network and reduces unnecessary LSA flooding. Route summarization requires a good IP addressing plan. Okay, let's review example. We have a network, we have area 45, backbone area, area 12 and area 13. On router R2 we have 5 subnets, on router R3 we have 4 subnets. If there is no route summarization, router R1, which is ABR, is going to advertise in area 0 these LSAs, Type 3 LSAs, 5 LSAs for these subnets. And then router R4, which is also ABR, will advertise them into area 45. Then ABR R1 will advertise 4 LSAs Type 3 for these 4 subnets. And then R4 will advertise them into area 45. And the last, it will advertise 2 LSAs Type 3 for these 2 networks into area 0, and then ABR R4 will advertise 3 LSAs Type 3 for these 2 networks and plus this one. If we configure a route summarization, so let's calculate. We had 5 plus 4 plus 2, it is 11 LSAs Type 3 flooded into area 0 and 12 to area 45. If we configure route summarization, then we're gonna have 4 LSAs Type 3 flooded into area 0. So from 11 to 4. These are for 10, 12, 10, 13, and these 2 subnets, 192.168.0.0, which is summary for these 5 subnets, and 192.168.16.0 mask 21 for these 4 subnets. So more than 2 times we decrease number of LSAs. And in this ABR router R4 will flood 5 LSAs Type 3. 2 for these networks, 1 for this subnet, and 2 these summary subnets. So let's see the same example but on their equipment. So this is the same network that we had on the slide. The only difference is that I don't have networks subnets configured here, I have interface brief. I have loopback interfaces with mask 30. So run interface L1. I have actually configured mask 24, but OSPF will advertise mask 32. Let's see. Show IP OSPF route. Show IP show IP route OSPF. And I can see OSPF advertised these loopback IPs with subnet 32. So let's see. Router R1 show IP OSPF database. We have, let's see what advertised by router R1. So router R1 will advertise 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 subnets. This is a type 3 LSA into area 0. And now the same that I showed on the slide. And now let's go and see on router R4. Show IP OSPF database advertised router 444. So, and router R4 will advertise 10, 12, 10, 13, 10, 14, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 subnets into area 46. Let's double check on this one. Show IP OSPF database advertised. I'm sorry, 444. As you can see, these all our type 3 LSAs which are advertised from R4 into R5, and these our type 3 LSAs which are advertised from router R1 into area 0. So we have 11 type 3 LSAs for area 0 and 12 type 3 LSAs for area 45s. To reduce this, we need to configure summary route on R1, route summarization on R1. We will see how to do it in this video. Inter-area summarization or summarization on ABRs. Inter-area summarization reduces the number of type 3 LSAs that an ABR advertises into an area when it receives type 1 LSAs. In this example that we have ABR R1 which is connected to two areas, area 0 and area 1. And it has also 5 subnets in the area 1 connected to it. If there is no summarization configured on R1, then for each this subnet or for type 1 LSA which is passing through R1, it will create type 3 LSA. So it's gonna be 5 type 3 LSAs in area 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But if we configure summarization, then R1 will only create one type 3 for summary route into area 0, reducing bandwidth, reducing LSDB, reducing routing table. If at least one subnet within this area falls in the summary address range, then an internal summary route is generated. The summarized route metric is equal to the lowest cost of all the subnets within the summary address range. So we have 5 subnets, we have 5 metrics for each, subnet. And in this case, the metric for our summary route is going to be metric 10 because this is the lowest one. If this network fails, then OSPF will choose next lowest one. In our case, is metric 14. If another network shows up, for example, 192.168.60/24 with metric 5 within this summarized range in this area, then OSPF will choose that lowest metric. In that case, let's say metric 5 for summary route. And inter-area summarization can only be done for the intra-area routes of connected areas. For this connected area, for these intra-area routes, summarization can only be done. The ABR creates also a route to the null interface. For example, in this case, we have summarization configured on R1. Then on R2, we have this entry in a routing table to subnet 192.168.00/21, which is summary route or summary subnet for all these our subnets, to this router R1. And if in that case, if there is no null interface configured on R1 and there is default route pointing to R2, then for example R2 send packet to network, let's say 192.168.6.1. ABR doesn't know anything about that network because it's not listed here in routing table and it has default route. It will send that packet back to R2. R2 has again default route to this subnet and it will send it forwarded back to R1, and then it's gonna create loop. But if when OSPF create this route entry to null interface, when R2 sends packet to R1 with subnet, let's say 192.168.6.0.1, and it's not listed here, then it will send it to next longest match, which is 192.168.0.0 mask 24, and this is a null interface, and R1 drops it. And this null interface, it has administrative distance for internal routes 110 and for external routes 254. Let's review command how to configure summarization on ABRs. This is the command and it needs to be configured in the router configuration mode. This command is area ID, range, IP address, network mask, 2 optional keywords, and then you can configure metric for this summarized address. Area ID identifies an area about which routes to be summarized. If we take our previous example, then area ID is area 1, where we have all these subnets to be summarized. IP address is our summary address, 192.168.0.0 in our example, and network mask is 21 in our example, is 255.255.248.0. Advertise is optional keywords and its default. Sets the address range status to advertise and generates type 3 LSA. And not advertise is also optional, but this command can be used if you want to filter some summary routes. This command sets the address range status to do not advertise and suppress the type 3 summary LSAs. And the last option is cost. You can configure cost manually. Let's say for this summary address, cost is going to be 100. Instead, letting OSPF to choose the minimal metric among those metrics from the subnets which you are going to summarize. Okay, let's review example for inter-area summarization or summarization on ABRs. We have network, we have OSPF configured on all routers, and we have area 12, area 13, area 0, area 45. I have 5 subnets or 5 loopback interfaces configured on R2, which we're going to summarize, and 4 on R3. Let's check. Show IP interface brief. So we have 5 loopback interfaces, and here we have show IP interface brief. We have 4 loopback interfaces. Let's go to R1, show IP route. First we'll check routing table, and as you can see, let's reduce with only OSPF routes. We have route to each subnet, to each our loopback interface. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 subnets. Show IP OSPF database, and as you can see, we have also let's do it like this, advertised router 111. So as you can see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 LSAs, summary LSAs or type 3 LSAs, which R1 generates and advertise into area 0. To these 9 LSAs, there are 2 added for this network and for this network. So we have too many LSAs, we have big routing table. The only way to fix it, we need to configure summarization. Let's just check also R4, show IP route OSPF. As you can see, we have the same number of routes. Show IP OSPF database, advertised router is 111. And we have the same number of summary or type 3 LSAs, 11. So let's do configuration. Conf T router OSPF 100, and then we need to use area 12 range 192.168.0.0.255.255.248. This is our summary subnet for all these subnets. You can calculate, you can recall how to calculate subnets for summary subnets, and you can try to recall and you will get the same. And then we have our options. Advertise this range, which is default, cost, and not advertise. Let's use advertise. This option is default. Even if I configure it, it will not show in configuration. And do show run section router OSPF 100. As you can see, there is no this option. And if you use not advertise, it will show up here, but this range is not gonna be advertised into areas. So I will just do advertise, or just by default. Okay, and one more thing I forgot to show IP OSPF interfaces. Sorry, brief. I configured cost for each interface for each loopback interface. So as per OSPF will choose lowest metric. So it's gonna be 2 for our summary route. And show IP OSPF, show IP route. And as you can see, we already have our summary route to null. As I mentioned, it prevents loops. We have all our subnets, and on R4 we're gonna see show IP route. We're gonna see only one subnet to those networks with cost 4. So the lowest cost was 2, Then we have cost for this link 1 and for this link 1, and in total we are getting 4 for this summary route. Let's configure the second summary route for these subnets on R3. Router OSPF 100, router OSPF 100, and then range area 13, range 192.168.16. This is summary subnet for all those 4 subnets that we have on R3. 0 to with mask 21 255 255 248 0, and let's configure cost. Let's say 100. In that case, we're gonna get on R4 cost for this subnet is 101, and show IP route. So as you can see, now we have summary route for this 192.168.16.0.21 pointing to null to prevent loops. And let's go to see what we have. Show IP route. And now we have our summary route with metric 101, as I said, because I configured cost for this summary route to 100 and cost of this link is 1. And let's check. So show IP OSPF. Show route OSPF. So now, as you can see, we have only 4 routes. We had this many routes in the beginning, and now we have only 4. So we reduced the routing table. Show IP OSPF database. Let's see, advertising router 111, and we have only 4 LSAs type 3. And let's check this option with not advertise. There, OSPF 100, area 13. Let's say now that we're gonna not advertise. And cost, actually we don't need cost because we're not going to advertise this. Now let's go to R4 and check. So we had 4 routes to these 2 links and to 192.168.0.0, 192.168.16. Now we should have only 3. Show IP route OSPF. And now we have only 3. That 192.168.16 was filtered with that optional keyword not advertised. And also let's check show IP OSPF. Show route 192.168.0.0.255.255.248.0. So as you can see, and as I said, administrative distance for this null route is 110 for internal. We will check also when we're gonna configure for external summarization. Summarization on ASBRs or external summarization, it is similar to ABRs with some differences. Difference is in the command of configuration command and in type of LSAs which are advertised into the areas. With no summarization, each external route is redistributed into the OSPF domain individually, with creation of type 5 or type 7 for not so stubby areas LSAs on ASBRs. For example, we have our small topology with router R1, which has OSPF and EIGRP, redistributes these 5 subnets into the OSPF. If there is no summarization configured on ASBR, These 5 routes potentially they create 5 type 5 LSAs, which then are going to be sent into area 12 and then further into areas in OSPF domain. But if we configure summarization on ASBR, then instead of 5 potential type 5 LSAs, we're going to have only single type 5 LSA advertised into areas in the OSPF domain. The same as for ABRs. As a loop prevention mechanism, the summarizing ASBR installs a discard route to null that matches the summarized network range. We saw this story on ABRs when ASBR also creates a null route to the null interface, and when, for example, it has also default route and R1 sends some packet to the address, because R1 has summarized route to 172.16.0.0 to R1. If, for example, R2 needs to send any packets to address 172.16, let's say 6.0, which is in this range but is not present on R1, it will send it to R1. R1 doesn't have it in its routing table, and it has a default route pointing to R2. It will send it back to R2, and R2 again sees this summarized route and send it back to R1. But OSPF creates discard route to null interface, and in that case it will just drop this packet and will not create loop. ABRs for not so stubby areas, they act the same like ASBRs when a type 7 LSA is converted to a type 5 LSA. External summarization also can be done on ABRs only when they match this scenario, as they are ABRs for not so stubby areas. We will see it in example. And let's review the command to configure summarization on ASBRs or external summarization. This command is a little bit different from configuration summarization on ABRs, and it also needs to be done under the router configuration mode, but on ASBR. This command is summary address, IP address, network mask, and we have two options: not advertise or tag. As we go back to our example, IP address is the IP address of or our summary address, which we're gonna use. And network mask is this network mask for this summary address. Not advertise option is optional, and if you want to filter this summary address, you can use this option and it will not advertise this summary route into the OSPF domain. And tag is optional. Tag value that can be used as a match value for controlled redistribution via route maps. So this is optional keyword, and I'm not going to show it in example. And it is recommended and the best practice to implement contiguous IP addressing to achieve optimal summarization results. And we will see also this configuration in our example. I'm going to use this network for example. I have a router R0 with EIGRP configured and OSPF configured. There are 5 loopback interfaces which I'm going to summarize into summary address on this router, and there is redistribution from EIGRP into OSPF of the subnets. Let's check. Show IP interface brief. These are our 5 loopback interfaces. I'm going to summarize these subnets into one and advertise them into OSPF. Show run section router OSPF. Redistribution of EIGRP subnets into OSPF. And EIGRP, nothing specific or special. Show IP OSPF database. Let's see our LSAs. We have type 5 LSAs created for those subnets in EIGRP, which are redistributed in OSPF. And let's see here, I show IP OSPF database. Again, we have type 5 LSAs for subnets, and let's check R3, show IP OSPF database. And again, we have type 5 LSAs for subnets. So let's try to minimize it. We'll go to this router, conf-t, router OSPF 100, router OSPF 100, summary address, and then we're gonna use 172.16.0.0, 255.255.248. This is our summary subnet. We have two options, as I said, not couple options, not advertise, which will filter this summary address, and tagging. So I'm going to also show this one later. So now we have summary address. Let's see what we have in our database. Show IP or OSPF database. As you can see, we have our link ID for only one type 5 LSA, but we need to wait until this 5 disappears. Now you can see that we have only one type 5 LSAs at the moment. Let's go check to R1. Same situation here. We have only one, and show IP route OSPF. Show IP route. And we have only one route in routing table, which is summary route to those 5 subnets on the loopback interface. And let's say R3. Also only one type 5 LSA. Let's try router OSPF 100, not advertise option. Summary address, not advertise. Let's check on router R3. We still have this type 5 LSA. Let's try to show IP OSPF database. So now we don't have this. Let's see, show IP OSPF database. There is no type 5 LSA. And let's see here. Yes, there is no type 5 LSA, only type 4 pointing to ASBR. So this we checked, conf-t router OSPF 100. Let's fix this. Show IP route. And as I mentioned, this summarization also creates summary route to null interface to prevent loops. Show IP route 172.16.0.0, 255.255.248.0. And as I said, administrative distance for this null route is 254. For now, let's try to configure NS not so stubby area and see type 7 LSAs. Conf-t router OSPF 100. Let's remove summarization. No summary. 172.16.00 255.255.25480 and router conf router OSPF 100 area 1 not so stubby, and R1 conf t router OSPF 100 area 1 not so stubby. Okay, show IP OSPF database. So as you can see, we have 5 type 7 LSAs, the same. Show IP route. If there is no summarization, we have 5 entries in routing table. Show IP OSPF database, and we have type 7 5 LSAs and type 5 LSAs, and show IP OSPF database. And here we have only type 5 LSAs, also 5 entries. Show IP OSPF database. On router R3 we're gonna have also type 5 LSAs. These type 7 LSAs, they are from our router, which is advertising this router with EIGRP. So this router advertises type 7 LSAs, and then R1 creates type 5 LSAs. So let's try to do summary. Conf t router OSPF 100 summary address 172.16.0.0.255.255.248.0. Let's see, show IP OSPF database. We still have remaining those type 7 LSAs, but we already have one type 7 LSA for summary address. So IP OSPF database. Yes, they already disappeared. So now we have only one type 7 LSA. Let's go to R1, show IP OSPF database. Here as well we have type 7 LSA advertised by router R0 and type 5 LSA created by ABR or router R1. And let's go to R3, show IP OSPF database. Here we also have only one type 5 LSA. And show IP route. We have only one route to this summary address. So as you can see, we minimized LSDB, we minimized routing table. Okay, this is everything I wanted to show. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel with the notification bell on and show your support by hitting like button. I hope to see you soon in my next videos, but for now just goodbye and see you soon.